When I think of the greatest slides of all time, my mind instantly goes to Rickey Henderson sliding headfirst into third for the all-time steals record, Pete Davidson sliding into the DMs of whichever woman he's currently trolling all of humanity with, and of course, the vaunted G string, 2 to 4 to 4 to 2, open move that you can do in the key of G, in the key of C, and in the key of D. So that's what we're going to talk about today. One little quick move and a bunch of different ways that you can use it to improve your guitar playing today. Alright, so what am I talking about? I'm talking about the third string from the bottom, the G string. I like to call it the fourth string because I like to think outside the box, right? So we're going to take your middle finger. We can do this contextually using different fingers, but let's start with your middle finger. And let's start on the second fret of the G string. This is an A note, and we're going to slide it from 2 to 4, alright? From A to B. Now, that's going to be the one slide that all of this is going to be based around. And when you use your middle finger to do this, right, like this, your pointer finger is automatically going to line up with the third fret of the B string, which is a D note, okay? So, if we play the string open, it's G, 2 on the G string is A, slide into the fourth fret, which is a B, and then a D right here. So really, if we think about this, we're actually playing a G major arpeggio by kind of adding that A note in between, all right? So the first way we're going to talk about this contextually is going to be in the key of G, the people's key. Just like Pete Davidson is the people's representative. We're all proud of you, Pete. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to maybe just use this as a lick to get us back to a G major chord to resolve whatever it is we're doing. All right? So how we can do that is just do that lick just like we talked about. Okay? So I think that's really easy to do. Again, it's just you do the slide, go up to that third fret on the B string, and then I like to play this maybe 2 times here. 2 times on the fourth fret, slide back, 2, and then the G chord. Okay, now you can do some kind of transitional component of that between any of the chords in the key of G in a bunch of different ways. We can even start on like a G chord. So right there, what I played was G major to A minor to C major 7 to G, okay? And if I just played it just with the chords, it sounds fine, right? Maybe if you're like singing along, it could sound better like this. But if you want to have like a break where you just add that little slide, you can always add it between every chord. G, okay, so it just kind of adds it up, makes it more interesting, right? If you're just playing regular open chords, you're doing great. I'm proud of you, but you're not pulling Kate Beckinsale off Instagram. No, you're not. That's why you need to get those slides working in there, right? And then again, it's really important, I think, to use a finger other than your pointer finger to go from 2 to 4, because that opens up that move right there, right? Now, you can also think of this as just being a different way to get to a G major chord voicing in a different way, right? So right here, ring finger on the 5th fret of the D string, middle finger 4th fret of the G string, pointer finger 3rd fret of the B string. There's another way to play G major, which, you know, depending on where you are on the fretboard, this could be an easier thing to get into, right? Like let's say you're doing some kind of like descending move right there, right? And all this is, I'm taking the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st chords in the key of G. That would be G major is the 1 chord, A minor is the 2 chord, B minor is the 3 chord. If that didn't make any sense to you, definitely check out my Patreon because I go over that in excruciatingly slow detail. I have well over 100 videos on that Patreon. You should definitely check it out. Song lessons galore. That's the best slide that you could do. You could slide your mouse pointer over to the Patreon link in the description. But let's say you're starting on that B minor chord, however you want to look at it. I'm just going to play it like right here, the 9th fret of the D string, and then I'm going to have my pointer finger grab the 7th fret of the G string and B string, and then we're going to descend like that. 2 frets back would be A minor, and then we're on G, right? But I'm thinking of this spot in the G major as just kind of something I can always get into because I've really been drilling that little move, all right? So I think a really good way to practice this would be to do all the chords in the key of G, all the 6 or 7 main chords, which would be G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp half diminished, if you want, back to G. I'm not going to go over that in great detail here because if you don't already know that, this is the Patreon for that, you know what I mean? And then in between all of those, try to find a way to just put some combination of those notes in between the chords. And that's going to make you such a better player because you're thinking about playing a chord, right? Maybe, you know, you're finger picking or just using a pick. And then to really kind of focus and drill in on and then, you know, even though that might not sound like a musical chord progression, that's like a lot going on that you can really pare down to into smaller pieces. Like if you just want to focus on 2 of those chords, just G to A minor. And then you can kind of expand from there, right? Okay, so what I did there, and I think A minor is a really good chord to really take to use this as an example because your ring finger is already on the 2nd fret of the G string. So this is really easy to slide into, or you can slide the whole shape down 2 frets, and that gives you most of what we talked about already. Okay, so these little slides, and any slide in any key, any kind of lick, will actually be hidden in chords if you think about sliding full chords around. Alright, so we've got A minor, B minor, back to A minor, all right? Now you can do a lot of really cool stuff with that, but I want to talk about extending it and then making a connection to the other G, A, B, something like that, okay? All that is, it's the same thing, connected through basically one note, and then octaving up, all right? So remember, we said the open G is a G note, the 2nd fret on the G string is an A note, and then that 4th fret is a B note. G, A, B, right? You can start the G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Play the G major scale if you want, but I want to find the next G, A, B, the next octave up, the next higher version of those notes, right? So we slide into here, and then this little B string, the 3rd fret, that D, can be used to pivot into the next G, A, B. However you want to do it. Right? So straight would be G, A, B, D, G, A, B. Alright? And now once you start using that as almost like a template for what you're doing, then you can get into like really cool stuff where like maybe you use some of those 3 notes per string scale techniques I was talking about in the last few series of videos. But it's just a great way to think about chords really kind of transition them back into maybe single notes to have more of a lead style playing technique that you're working with, and then also going back to like a home bass chord. Okay, now this same technique can be applied pretty much anywhere, right? If we look at the key of A, that would just be everything is 2 frets higher. So instead of going open to 4, we just go 2, 4, like that, right? Because again, now this would be an A, this would be the 2nd note in the A major scale, A to B, to C sharp, to E. And then again, all the same things that you can do will apply, alright? So that's just a quick example of how all of this is movable, and I think a good indicator of where to do it is to take maybe that chord right there, and then just think of where, alright, the middle of that chord is where, just like a 3-note voicing like this, forget that there's an open A string. The middle of this is where your root note is buried. Okay, so even if you're in D, or that's C, D, you can do it all over the place, right? But let's go back to the original one, because I want to use them in different contexts. Contexts is a tough word to say that I didn't know until just now. But the notes G, A, and B are actually prevalent only in 3 different keys: in the key of G, the key of C, and the key of D. All right? So we could do the same thing, but then use it for the chords in the key of C. And that might yield a different kind of vibe, because we're not actually ending on the root note. Now we'd be ending on a different note in that key. All right? So if we do the same chord scale that we did in the key of G, G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished G, which again, I think knowing the chords that go in a chord scale and a key is super, super important. And then also being able to number them is even more important. I would say that's the most important skill that you could have if you don't take anything else from learning from my videos or learning on the internet or in person or whatever. That's the most important thing that you could do for your guitar playing, is be able to name the notes in a key, turn them into chords, and number them, right? So let's actually go key of C. We've got C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B, back to C. So you'll notice that some of those chords are the same as the key of G. They share certain chords. But one thing that they don't have in common would be like a D minor chord and an F major chord. So let's actually go to F major, right? Maybe even F major 7 if you're fancy, because that's my favorite chord, right? And if we have, so that's just 3E, 3D, 2G, 1B, and then that high E string. Now your middle finger is on that same spot, right? So now we can use the same lick, if we want to call it a lick. See how that changes a little bit? It's a different vibe if you resolve on a C. It almost kind of takes you and then puts you back home. Whereas doing it on a G, it just sounds like it's just such a clean resolution, because again, it's really just a G major arpeggio. But the reason that it sounds a little different in C, because G's function in the key of C is to kind of take you away and then bring you back home. Okay? So even though all the things are going to line up pretty much the same, you can start with that F major chord. It's going to have a different vibe. Same thing with the D minor. Really easy to do, because again, D minor, 1 on the high E string, 3 on the B string, 2 on the G string. That middle finger is set up to even just riff within this chord. I'm just going to hang out on this D minor chord. We're in D minor, just by hanging on it, because we're so heavy on that arpeggio, it still wants to go to G major. So it could also be used as a way to introduce D minor into something in the key of G, which again, that's maybe that's a little more advanced music theory, using a minor 5 chord, as we would call it. But I think it's just like a cool bridge to kind of get into that stuff. So Whether you're using it all diatonically in one key, as we say, or just as a way to kind of explore different things, you can always do it. And it's really, I think it's one of the easier ones, just because your hand's already used to kind of being more or less around this shape. Like, you've seen it already in a lot of these chord voicings that, you know, your middle finger ends up, or one of your fingers ends up near or in this area. So just really kind of explore it, and then just work on picking out, trying to get a clean slide, and then back to whatever home key that you're in. So thanks for checking it out. By the way, rocking out the Taylor 816 CE. Love this guitar. I'll have an affiliate link in the description if you guys are interested in something as awesome as this. And again, please check out the Patreon. Tons and tons of lessons out there. Congratulate Pete Davidson on my behalf. Not that he needs it. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks a lot.